Okay, my biggest pet peeve is people.
Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy
Mega Meeple.
Greetings and welcome to the Mega Meeple. This is episode 4 of season 4. And thank you so much for smashing that download button. Appreciate it very much. And yeah, this time, sorry, you're only going to get one episode this week. I know I kind of spoiled you folks last time because I gave you 2 episodes last time. Well, don't get used to that, all right? That was a one-time deal, all right? Don't expect that all the time. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Oh, Jesus Christ, honest. What a week. What a month. What a year. God damn. Oh, jeez. Can we reboot 2020? Did we all of a sudden, forget the safe word for 2020? Because this shit is just going on and on and on and on. My goodness. So, of course, we had we're having the coronavirus. I'm still under quarantine. In fact, I've only left the apartment twice. At both times was to go to the doctors. I mean, that's not fun. We're not having fun. But anyway, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do to stay alive, you know? And so I hope all you out there who are high risk, that you're staying safe, staying sane, staying healthy, staying smart. Jesus Christ, stay home. Don't go out unless you have to. But then the protests and then the cops. Oh, God. You know, back years ago, I used to be a assistant instructor and a range officer for the concealed carry certification class for North Carolina concealed carry permits. And one of the things that we talked about and we taught in the class was do not escalate. Well, you would think that the police around here and all over, that it's almost like they don't realize that, hey, phones have cameras on them and they're being videotaped, and you don't necessarily have to, confiscate the phone in order to destroy, the evidence, that you're being a bully. I have a thing on my phone that if I have to do a video or something like that, it automatically goes up to the cloud. So yeah, you could confiscate my phone and destroy it all you want, but I'll just go over to another computer or get another phone and just have access to that footage, right off the bat. You could destroy the phone, but you're not going to destroy the evidence. But you think these police were a lot smarter, a lot more better trained to deal with, and not escalate. I come from a family of law enforcement officers and correctional officers, and hell, I'm retired forensics. That was a job that I never was able to do, is be a police officer. I couldn't. It would be too much stress, and I knew right off the bat that I was something I was not going to be able to do. So I compromised and I became a lab rat. I worked in the lab. I worked in forensics. Okay? That was my contribution to law enforcement. But now it's like, my dad must be spinning in his grave right now of the bullshit that the police are doing right now. Then we have the whole Origins Online thing, where they had the whole Origins Online. Gamma had a thing all set up for an online con, and they had a bunch of people, guests, big names, to do like presentations and panels and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, they had to just fuck it up. And as a result, a lot of the people, I'd say pretty much everybody that was scheduled to be on a panel or be a guest or whatever, pulled out. Statement or lack of for our support of Black Lives Matter. We are not going to be a part of this. So as a result, Origins Online had to cancel their event because even that's pretty sad. If you couldn't do a simple 3-word hashtag or a statement, much akin to what a bunch of other companies are doing and statements they're putting out, and Gamma couldn't do that, and for an online event, nobody shows up. I mean, it's one thing to have a physical event and have people not show up or buy tickets, like a concert. You know, imagine that, having a concert and nobody shows up. The only people to show up was the band and the road crew. Nobody in the audience. I switched that over to an online event and nobody shows up. Everybody pulls out in protest. And as a result, Origins Online had to they had to cancel their online event. That's pretty fucking pathetic. All because they couldn't utter 3 simple words. You know, hell, even if you don't mean it, even if you're not sincere. No, they couldn't do that. And but I could tell you that it doesn't. The drama does not stop there. Hell, even over in the horror community, some shit was rattled up this past week. There was Cinestate is a movie company, amongst other things. The Fangoria magazine and movie studio is under or owned by Cinestate. And it was a report came out that one of the Cinestate's producers, some jackass by the name of Christopher Donaghy, there's been reports that he is accused of sexual misconduct and being a sexual predator towards a lot of the women, not only in the cast of some of the movies that Cinestate has done, but also just the women in the production crew. So as a result, Fangoria magazine has pulled out from the ownership of Cinestate. They left there. Now, Fangoria magazine just did like a resurgence about 2 years ago. So now, 2 years after they rebooted, they're now up for sale. Likewise, Fangoria had a podcast network that a lot of some of my favorite horror podcasts, Shockwaves, Postmortem with Mick Garris being 2 of them. They also pulled out from the Cinestate umbrella, but hopefully we could help you forget about all that crap for at least the next hour or so. Because with me today is Julie from Greenbrier Games. And what are we going to talk about? Of course, if you have been listening, the past for season 4, I'm doing my shoot the shit fireside chit chat with people, and just because I'm lazy right now, I don't want to have to do a lot of the work, so I just have a bunch of people come on and we just bullshit about stuff. You're gonna like this one because right off the bat, we talk about Kickstarter and Kickstarter being a store or not being a store. Oh yes, we go there, we go down that hole. Yes. So there's leave it to the Mega Meeple to stir up the shit. So here we go. Let's get on to it. Let's rip this Band-Aid off and get it over with as we go on to my little chit chat with Julie of Greenbrier Games. Here we go. Welcome back to the Mega Meeple, continuing on our, fireside chat, shoot the shit chat. I don't know what we're gonna call these.
I think it's gonna be part of the latter more than the former.
Yeah. Okay. So, who do we have with us this time? We have Julie.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little loopy, clearly, but it's Friday, so that's good.
Yep. Is it payday for you? Because Fridays are a lot of paydays for people.
It is payday. It's okay. Sadly, kind of happily, because of all of the stay in place, a lot of my money that I spend goes usually to conventions because I go to a lot of conventions. So. Since we're sheltering in place, I've spent a lot less, so I haven't needed to pay attention as much to payday, which is both good and bad. It's also good for Kickstarters right now, for anybody else who has a Kickstarter, because that's the only way I can't go out and get stuff, so I'm like, what's online?
Now, you've run quite a few Kickstarters in your day, right?
Yeah, we're going at 16th. We'll start next month. In June, we're going to do another Tales of Barbaria. Will be our 16th Kickstarter.
Wow. Okay. Now, what do you think of the? I see on there a lot about Kickstarter is not a store. But every once in a while, I come across a game that says this is not going to retail. This is only exclusive. The only way you're going to get it is through Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So does that kind of throw a whole thing into the, well, okay, if that's the only way you're going to get the game, is it, in that case, isn't Kickstarter a store in that thing?
Okay. Here. Ooh, you want to go down that rabbit hole. Cool. Let's go. Let's go.
Who knows? Like I said, we don't know. I'm just curious.
Okay. I have thoughts about this. Did you hear the capitalization? So Kickstarter is a social platform. It's a funding platform, but it's a social platform. Okay. So it's a microcosm of society that it can say what its intentions are. And it can, in some way, shape, or form, try to shape those intentions. But when it comes down to it, social means your society, which in this case is the people who are funding are participating, buying into Kickstarter, literally, get to shape what it is. So you can fight against it, and that is a common. I never weighed in. I never ever participate in the debate of is it or isn't it. I let the backers do that. The people who are actually putting their money in because they're the society of this social platform who are putting in the money. Now, there's a lot of bigger picture legal ramifications to it as well that you can talk about. That I read. Obviously, as somebody who's done a lot of Kickstarters, I spent a lot of time looking at it, not just the marketing for it, but also the legal ramifications for all of it. And what it comes down to is your society is going to feel how they feel about it, and they're going to shape the platform, and you have that aspect. And then you have the greater society of government and law that's going to intervene at some points where society can say, well, it's this kind of a thing, and then they're going to hit a brick wall of bureaucracy and is going to be like, you can feel that way, but that's not the case for certain instances. So, for example, guy who did some sort of ridiculous, make the most perfect potato salad, and he was going to send everybody like a tablespoon of the salad, but there was no way to do that without it becoming rancid. Like there were legal back and forth debates about that, about whether that was he'd be able to do it, whether anybody really expected him to actually go through with his Kickstarter promises. And really, it was just a ploy to get a lot of money, obviously. Like it was a silly one, and it was a marketing genius thing because it was just goofy and it captured the imagination and nonsensical, funniness. So people were paying $1 because he was humorous. But he promised a tablespoon of the perfect potato salad to each backer, which for $1 each, he made lots of money. And really, is he really going to fulfill that Kickstarter? So like, there's legal ramifications to that. Can people sue him for their $1 back? So there's a lot of, and of course so we have our own bubble as well, because we've set additional, if you go outside of the board game Kickstarter umbrella, there's a very different attitude. And then when you're inside the board game, we're actually a lot more what do I want to say? We got a lot of sheriffs making sure that people follow their promises a lot more than outside this bubble. So it's interesting to me because we look inwards and we're constantly looking inwards, but sometimes stepping out, there's a different thing. So to get back to your original question, is it a pre-order or is it it's kind of what you make it, and you're going to attract different backers based on your approach on what you're saying it is, what promises you make. So you have to be careful, I think, not necessarily even because of legally, although it has become more of a legal matter, but because maybe you'll get away with it once, maybe because we're a lot more savvy now on Kickstarter, but you won't get away with it repeated times by saying it's Kickstarter only or saying it's a pre-order or what have you, and not following through with the letter of what Kickstarter is saying it is legally and what public opinion is. So it's got a lot more nuance.
Okay.
than just a yes or no. Now, okay, not to call out somebody, but Foundations of Rome. Not to call out something specific that I'm going to get yelled at later, but Foundations of Rome.
And if you want, I could edit this part out.
No. Is it specifically good or bad? They are a Kickstarter exclusive, which does not mean that it can't be sold in retail. It means that if you are a retailer and you want to get it, you won't get it through normal distribution. You have to order it through the Kickstarter to sell it into retail. But they put clear definitions of what that meant on their Kickstarter. So when they say Kickstarter exclusive, they say Kickstarter exclusive to us means, right there on their page, that if you want to sell it in retail, you're going to have to order it here through the Kickstarter. It's not going to go through distribution. And it's not that we don't want it to go through distribution. We work with retailers a lot. We care about our retailers. We care about this is our first Kickstarter, and our traditional way of doing things is through retail. The reason we're doing Kickstarter for this particular game is because there are so many miniatures and components. The only way it will be able to be made and actually not put us in debt is to do it through Kickstarter. So there are games now that are Kickstarter specific because the cost of making them is so prohibitive, and the expectation is that on Kickstarter is that you want, like, the games that typically do well are those games, those lots of miniatures, big box, lots of components. And the reason they're doing well is because they are cost prohibitive, and you're cutting out a lot of the chain of the rest of the retail side of it, because there's too many margins of paying other people if you're doing it otherwise. A game that's all cardboard is a lot more cost effective to make, and you can sell it for $40 and have a quality game that's fun to play with pretty art and enjoyable to play, but also the the piece of the money that's going to retailers, to distributors, to manufacturers, and the publisher is still one where everybody gets at least some profit. Whereas the bigger box games are so much more expensive, and even though they cost a lot more, it's not. If you did the same ratio of what they should cost so that everybody got the same percentage, they'd be even double or triple the amount that people are charging on Kickstarter to make them in retail.
Okay.
So it's not even necessarily like that people don't want to sell them in retail. Retailers don't want them because they're not making profit. They get complaints about how expensive they are and expected to put them on sale because they're too expensive. They're getting pressure from their buyers, from the customer. And it's easier because people on Kickstarter are also just on Kickstarter. You would think that the profit margin on some of these, because you see millions, Frosthaven. The number of people that backed Frosthaven is thousands and thousands of people. It was it's the highest funding board game Kickstarter on Kickstarter now. It beat out KDM, and it's the third highest funding Kickstarter on the whole platform in the history of the platform right now.
Wow.
So you would think, wow, they made so much money. I can guarantee you the percentage of that money, over $12 million, the vast majority of that money is all going directly back into the game. It's not like, Cephalor is suddenly going to buy an island in the Caribbean with that. Like, they don't, like, that money isn't profit for them to just have. That money is for manufacturing the game, shipping the game, so to try to do that through retail, they would never be able to. There's no way. That's my see. You said we could talk about anything, but then I went down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
We have the video on, but not the
Not recording.
That fills in all the that fills in all the spaces that I just didn't know what the hell was going on. It's like, because I saw one and then I'd see the other. I was like, well, that kind of goes against each other, don't it?
And you think that, and sometimes it does to a certain degree. It's, it's hard because there are a lot of different different people working in different areas in the board game industry, and it's not the most, as much as we love it, it's not the most lucrative. Like, we didn't all go into banking. We're not in pharmaceuticals. So there's not tons of profit any which way you see it, even at the highest level, even if you're looking at the CMON or Come On, or, there's not. There's more, but it's still not crazy. Nobody's living in their mansion with their Benz and stuff. There's small margins. And I think the general public, because they're paying more money for it, think that there's more of a profit. But the truth of the matter is, you're paying for all those components, which are also super heavy and then need to be shipped. That's how it works. Yeah. But you'll see that debate play out in a lot of different social forums, and I try not to wade in because it's not at that point. I could show numbers and quotes, and people don't care. People care about how they feel. They either feel betrayed because they can't get it at their local game store, or they feel like they're getting in on a bargain and take that, or they feel like it's, and you can argue with a feeling, but you're not really gonna win.
Yeah.
So I try to, just listen to and see if I can mitigate when I can and help out when I can, and when I can't, I think, just listening is the best way. But I don't. It's on social media platforms, unless it's my own Kickstarter. I'm kind of you duke it out. You figure out where you're going with this. There's no winning in that kind of an argument.
Yeah, I've often been I don't know, call me a troll, but
I've often been entertained by, particularly the comments on a lot of Kickstarters. Is like someone will put in there, oh, got my tracking number email, and then immediately afterwards, like there's a slew of all these other comments saying, I didn't get my tracking number. I didn't get this. Do I have to call somebody? Is it time to worry? What is it? Hey man, what's wrong with my what's you know? And it's like when it gets close to that, it's like I look at it as like.
And on the one hand,
Dude,
yeah,
you're
because
gonna
I
get
get
your
those
game.
directly messaged to me. I get them email through the company. I get them friend requests so that they can message me personally. I get phone calls for that. So on the one hand, I could be snarky and roll my eyes. On the other hand, I've been that person because I'm back
Really?
to Kickstarter, and I have you'd think that I would know better, and I'm the worst. It's like, they say teachers make the worst students. Publishers make the worst Kickstarter backers. We're terrible. Even though we know, because we're also like, we're messaging the people we know, our friends, being like,
Yeah, because
hey,
you
is
know
it
the inner
coming?
workings of it, right?
Yeah. So we're the worst because we know better than to do that, and we're still doing it. And we're doing it because we know the person. Be like, hey, friend, how's it going? Where's my stuff? They're like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. It's human nature. You can't fight human nature. I mean, you can try. We can try to be better as a society, but that's a different topic altogether.
Yeah. Speaking of that topic.
Oh no.
No, I'm joking. It does make me. The more I watch the news, the more I'm actually glad that I'm under quarantine and stuck inside. It's like I'm afraid to go outside at this point. I mean, if being an introvert was like, no, I don't like. I like the word, but without except for other people, you know. But now it's like, yeah, I'm afraid to go outside now. I'll wait until everybody's. I'll wait until 2 o'clock in the morning to go out and get my mail because I know everybody else is asleep and not outside.
Oh, that's fair.
Jeez.
I'm not a fan. Well, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie. For somebody who spends so much time going to conventions, I've been almost a cave dweller here.
But isn't some conventions doing all their stuff online?
There was another one. It was actually the platform. What is it? I'm not going to remember off the top of my head. The platform that allows smaller conventions to do all of their planning and sign up and ticket sales online. There's only one that I can know of, and it's not coming to me. I feel really bad. But it's a lot of the smaller conventions. Grand Con uses them. What other conventions have I gone to recently that have used them? I think SnowCon. A lot of the smaller conventions, those like 200 to 400, you can go sign up, and you can upload everything to this specific site. So your schedule is on there, buying tickets, buying your badges. That platform, because so many of the smaller ones is doing an online convention, which is like an ongoing, their meetups for like there's the RPG rooms, there's the tabletop game rooms, and you sign up for time in the room. And mostly they're using it like a meetup if you want to play games online to organize it, or if you're doing an RPG so that you can do your texting, your messaging back and forth. But then they asked publishers to potentially offer, just like at a like VIP packages, donate something. So like I donated a couple games, but also one of the VIP packages, I said that I would write a death scene for a character for one of the whoever bought it type of thing. Right. So random, specific, like lots of different. I think it's more RPG oriented, but regardless, they have an ongoing, and in exchange, I have a booth. So it's just through Discord, but people can come in and ask questions about my board game there, and I respond there and post little videos of like play sessions and stuff like that.
Okay.
So Yeah, there's a couple of them going on to various degrees of success.
Yeah, I know. In fact, tonight, my gaming group is gonna try, because once the quarantine dropped down, we had to put a we had to stop playing. We were going through BattleTech, so first time tonight we're gonna try doing like a FaceTime thing, where it's like, okay, I'll. I even asked my daughter, it's like, can I mean, these guys are getting back together again. Can I go? I got some masks, and he said, nah, it's still too risky. So
Well, so it's funny that you say that. I've, with all of the controversy, regardless, I've played a lot of party games on Zoom in the last couple of weeks. I played just one. I went from never playing it before to playing it a bajillion times at this point. But that being said, I can play just one with all my nieces and nephews, and I've got my friends' kids who call me aunt. Like I've got the unofficial aunt of a lot of children at this point in my life, and so I've got the girls in Cleveland and my sister's kids in Massachusetts and my other really good friend from college's kids in Virginia, and they're all on their pads and we're all playing just one, and their age is like 8 to 13, and we can all play, and everybody's mom and dad can like go away for an hour, and Aunt Julie's got this because they're all like glued to like what we're doing here in front of the screen. And of course, if they try to run away or sneak off or do something, I could just text whoever's mom and be like, I've lost one. They're trying to be sneaky. And there's that can happen. But I've also played it with, Ken Franklin from Calliope, who designs games for Calliope. He has hosted a couple game night sessions on Zoom and party games, which I have never been. I'm going to be honest, I've never been a fan of. I've never really liked party games. I have played so many party games in the last couple of weeks, and I'm so grateful for the interaction that I'm like, you know what? This is cool. Party games are great. I'm fine. This is good. And things like, I don't know, it's hard. It is hard. But at the same time, I had a friend from from middle school. So I have a group of friends that I've been friends with since middle school, which I don't think is normal for most people, but like we hang out still. Well, not currently, but I get asked a lot of, hey, Julie, what's a good game from them, because we were all a bunch of nerds. We still are. And so my expertise is requested. And so my friend Todd was like, so I've got people I know whose daughter has cancer and has to go in the hospital. And of course, with the quarantine, nobody can go in and visit her. But they said, she could have an iPad and they can do FaceTime or Skype or whatever, so that her family can her siblings can see her and spend time with her. What are some games that I could buy so I can buy 2 copies and 1 copy goes to her and 1 copy goes to them? And I was just like, here is all the information you need. Just tell me where to send stuff. He's like, no, I'm doing it. So, the upside of board games is that, you can still stay connected.
yeah,
Even when it's tricky.
yeah. I think the way that we're doing it tonight is with BattleTech is that they're just gonna. I'll have my dice with me, because I told him, I was like, yeah, I want to roll my own dice. Otherwise, I'm just watching you guys have fun.
Well, that's the thing. The tactile nature of so many games is a huge component.
Mm-hmm.
Is, you've got the visuals of it being pretty, and the aesthetic, which, different degrees of importance to different people. But you have that, you have the human interaction, you have the tactile nature of it, and then you have the clarity of the rule structure, depending on what type of rules you like to play, are like 4 of the biggest components. And when you're playing online, the tactile piece, that's, for video games, you change it for the physical, that's why they spend all that money to make like a handheld device rumble, or like give that like because you still have that tactile feedback. Or at least like when you're playing on a computer, which is, like on Steam, I'm at least getting, I'm physically manipulating the keyboard and then my mouse. So there's still a tactile nature. When you're playing, if you don't get to roll your own dice, it's Roll20 is I play so much Roll20 because it's for years the only way that I could play. I could take the time to play Pathfinder or D&D. But I've never liked it, even though I've resigned myself to it, because I don't get to roll the dice. I get to click a button and then it automatically rolls, and I don't feel any connection to that. Like, I am supposed to be rolling my skill set, and like and that's a piece that has always been missing. And I power through it because that's how I'm going to get to play. Right now we're playing Numenara. And every time we roll, I'm like, meh. But there are other components, so I just try to lean into the narrative, the storytelling of it. But when you're playing, to your point, so for just one, you can still, like everybody's, just to do a quick how it's played, there's a card with 5 words. You pick a number unseen, so you don't get to see what the word, like when it's your turn. That word, everybody around the table has to write down a word related to that word. They show their words. If any of them are the same, those can't be seen, and only the rest of them are clues. So the person who pick the number, if I said 3 and the word was pencil, and you put graphite, and somebody else put eraser, and somebody else put writing, and only one word. And if anybody put the same word, or write and writing would have to go down because they're the same derivative. I could look up, and if I see graphite and eraser, those are my 2 clues, and I have to guess the word. So you're still physically getting, like, even you just need a notepad, and like one person needs the copy of the game so they can hold up the card to the screen. Everybody else, but you're still getting that tactile. You're writing down your choices and then holding them up to the screen. So that's the beauty of party games. Is the simplicity of them is you usually still get to have a lot of that. The components of gameplay without a lot of bits. Yeah. My problem is I like games with lots of
bits.
Lots of bits, pieces, and miniatures, and dice, and meeples, and it's very hard to play that online.
Yeah.
So every Monday we do, we started a Numenara campaign, which I was super excited because I had not played any of Monty Cook's systems except for No Thank You Evil, again with my nieces and nephews. I played a lot of it though. And so it's the same system pared way down for kids. So I was really excited to play it because it was still very familiar. It's, it's the foundation was still there. But last week, our GM's mic cut out, and he didn't know, and so we sat there in silence for about 5 minutes, and then we were like, maybe he's looking something up, and then we tangented, and it was a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes, before he even realized to, like, message us and be like, hey guys, you can't hear me, and we had, like, side quest, like we had planned, like he was like, what happened? We had gone on our own little like side spree of whatever we felt like, because he wasn't there to rein us in. We had come up with I'm a soldier, like a bionic type of soldier, a glaive, and the Jack, who's more of a rogue character, and I decided we were going to do some sort of like acrobatic routine to entertain people and take their money while we were in town, and we were working on our choreography for a routine. He's like, what are you doing? We're like, improvising. Like, we thought you were looking something up. He's like, how long do you think I need to take to look something up? We're like, I don't know. Fair warning.
Yeah. So what kind of games have you been playing under quarantine? I mean, have you been? Are you big into like solo games or stuff? Or
well, yes, except that I'm not solo. So I've been playing a lot of 2-player games, or at least a lot actually. So besides the games that I've been playing online. So a lot of party games online, and like I said, I've got my weekly RPG campaign. I've also been playing Gloomhaven. So solo, I've been playing Gloomhaven online on the Steam. I've been going through the campaign for that, which I'm not going to lie, for as much as I say I love all the bits and components, the fact that it does all the math for you, I really kind of like. And the cleanup, like you don't have to set it up or clean up afterwards.
Yeah.
So I've turned into a Gloomhaven Online fan. Sorry, Isaac. Like a big one. I'm sure it isn't really hurting his feelings, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to pull out the components anymore. This is so much easier. Of course, at some point, I'm going to want to play with the miniatures. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But then just here on the weekends, a lot of 2-player and a lot of classic games. Played Thunder Road recently.
Okay.
And what else? Oh my gosh. I'd have to go through. Got Morals, which is which I very much enjoyed as a 2-player game. It is a 2-player game. I don't know. Go through. Oh, what was and this is why I take pictures of them. Because if I don't take pictures, I forget. I forget entirely what I play. So scrolling back, what else have I played recently? I played Abracadabra What? Which is Z-Man and Walk on Fire. And what was the football game?
Touchdown a Minute.
Touchdown a Minute? Where is it?
Greatest football game ever made.
Yeah. Touchdown a Minute football.
Okay.
Which, by the way, so yeah, we've been like doing a lot of old school games here as 2-players. That one is great. And I never, like, if he hadn't made me play it, if Robert hadn't made me play it, I would never have played it because it's just not anything I would have picked up. Well, as a kid, it's not something I would have picked up because I wanted stuff with unicorns and dragons and wizards and did not care about football. And now as an adult, I'm like, well, that's an old game. Why would I want to play that? It's really good. To learn a lot about the dice, like it's using the specialty dice for it. And it's super cheaply made, but it stands up as a game. So yes, I've been playing a lot of classics and then trying to find a lot of good 2-player games.
Okay. Yeah, I've been playing through the different iterations of Everdell, because I just got the Spirecrest and Belfair thing in, so I'm trying. Okay, what and they have like recommendations as far as don't play these two together, but of course when you get a game with a bunch of expansions, like see if we could throw it all in together and play them all at the same time. So I've been messing around with different combinations of the expansions. Yeah, right now that's about it. I go in like phases and spurts where I'll just play one game or one type of game over and over and over again.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, all right, I'm sick of that one, or I was like, all right, I've had enough. Especially in times like now, where it's like, because our BattleTech group, we would like swap back and forth each week. So one week we'd be over Chris's house doing BattleTech, and the next week they'd all come over here and play board games.
Right.
And we just started Mix versus Minions again. It's like I think the second or third time I've started to play that, and that's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
I like some of the later. We got as far as two missions before we had to do the quarantine crap.
Yeah.
The first time we played through it, I think one of the later missions, the new damage cards that come out.
Yeah.
Do you remember the one that says the next word you say is the only word you're able to say through the rest of the game?
No, but I would make good
You
use of
don't
that.
know. There's like, so it's funny because I think there's like 6 copies of that card that you introduced back, into the damage deck. So we, me and one other person got those cards, and in fact, the other guy that got that card, he would keep taking damage, and and so he had like 3 of those cards in his in his program. I was like, so anyway, half the game was like, shit, fuck, shit, and then as we're trying to talk, it was like, shit, 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 shit. It was like we're pointing. It's like, so.
See, that would be so. Initially, that would be my thought because we're all 12.
Right.
But I think like the word there. Like I feel like there is a much more indicative, like something you could like do more with it. As much as I would like fuck to be the word that I use. But yeah, that's a good one, but not one that you can play like all the bits and pieces. That's definitely an all the bits and pieces kind of game.
Yeah, we're hoping to get back into that too, because that is a. And what blows me away is that Riot Games is known for like League of Legends. I mean that's where isn't that where Mechs versus Minions came from? Is that the whole League of Legends universe?
I think so.
And so they're a company known for video games and stuff. And here they come out with their first board game and just outdo pretty much everybody.
Well, you can't and that's the thing. But it's a hard. I mean, if you want to go into that, it's a hard thing because you can have a video company who wants to do it in house, but then I find the challenges that I've heard are that they want to treat it like it's a video game, and they're not the same.
Right.
If they are just loaning their IP, those are expensive. And of course, the more high profile it is, the more expensive it is. So you have to, you want to go with a company that has some experience handling IPs, and the turnaround has to be really fast. And when a turnaround is really fast, to your point, you usually don't get that great a game. You get a let's slap it on and call it a day. So you have to find something really specific. Or you find a company that's got some experience and knows how to take a base core mechanisms of a game and play off of it something that will work well, which is how you got like the Harry Potter Battle of Hogwarts. I mean, it's a very pared down, card game. It's of the Dominion ilk, but it absolutely does well playing off of what the abilities were, each of the cards were, and how they add to both the theme of Harry Potter of what a card's abilities reflected the spell or the item or the ally. But they didn't mess around with mechanisms as much as of core mechanisms. They were like, okay, it's going to be it's a card game. It's a co-op collectible card game type of thing. We know how that works. We know how we're going to do it. Go. So you have to you need somebody. I mean, and that was at the time that was Andrew Wolf, who was at USAopoly working on it, and so you get somebody who's really got some knowledge about how to do that, then you're fine. But if you have somebody who's like, I just really love Terminator, doesn't know how that translates, and I love board games, this will work. Maybe.
Yeah.
But for every Battlestar Galactica or Battle of Hogwarts, you get those early Walking Dead games that just had they were just well, it's a zombie game. Let's slap on a generic zombie game with card. I think they've gotten better. I absolutely think, but of course, how they handle it, and I think in general the genre has gotten better because people have gotten more savvy. But just because it has an IP doesn't mean it's a good game. And just because it has an IP doesn't mean it's a bad game either. but it just makes it more challenging to make a quality game because you only have an IP for a finite amount of time to turn around. Rain did a really good job. The app Rain. I don't know if you've ever played it.
No.
But you can also buy the energy drink. It's everywhere. That game's, it's a lightweight party game, but it stayed in their role. It's super fun. So there are certain games, as long as the video company and the designer and everybody knows not to overstep their boundaries, which is hard. Like if it's your IP, you want to be very protective. And also you think, well, I've made this video game or comic or movie or what have you, so I know everything there is to know about it. Well, you don't know about making a board game. Or, well, I know how to make a board game. Okay, but do you know this particular IP and what it's about?
Yeah.
Like, you got to have that kind of mutual. So some of them do it well, and you have to do it quickly. And some of them really don't. Really don't.
And I think, too, especially when you do with IP, especially in the world of geek, like a Doctor Who game or something like that.
Right.
The people who are fans of that show, of that universe, they know. I mean, they know a lot about that show, and so if it's one of these things where they're just going to take some mechanics and then slap the IP image and stuff on it, and it doesn't jive with that universe, I mean, the consumers and the fans of that show is like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not the way it would happen. Or so, where did they come up with this? Well, that type of thing. So you really can't,
you have the people, but
insert
also,
the intelligence of the fans of the show
another
or
game,
whatever.
The Star Trek Next Generation dice game. Have you ever seen it? Played it?
I've seen it.
Okay, so Robert that was another old school game, came out in the 90s, and it's amazing. The dice, it's dice, and then you're putting them on your board, like everybody has their personal board and everything, but the board looks like one of the computer, the stations on the Enterprise, like, and all the symbols match the symbols that were on there. So the symbol, and then there's a key of what each symbol means. So when you're rolling the dice, each one's a specialty component, like gorgeous and very, very steeped in the theme. And and as a massive Trekkie nerd, totally psyched to see all of it. And so you have they made a Borg ship, the Enterprise, and then they did a Klingon ship, and that was it. But the problem being, it's so immersed in the theme that game-wise, it takes, like, you're like looking at, well, this symbol means this, and this is what I can do with it, and now I can think about the strategy. It was kind of a pain. Like, so the fans, sure, they're gonna be like, this is so cool, but are they really gonna take the time to learn how to play it? Yes, there's like 5 of them. That's the problem. And gamers are like, okay, no, I can get the game piece of this, but now I have to look at all these things. Like, it's a weird, like, you have to be careful. How far do you go? Mm-hmm. How far, and how wide a net do you want to cast when you're doing it? Do you really just want to be real specific? Because you have, for any fandom, you have a circle. And then for board games, you have another circle. And how big is your Venn diagram and the net you're casting? We've gone back and forth in this household about Villainous quite a bit recently. I think Villainous is great. I think it's amazing. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why is it doesn't deserve the accolades it's getting. I think it does, because it's not the most complex game, but it has a bit of strategy and complexity to it. It is a game where after 15 minutes, I had read the rule book, I had set it up, I had played it with people who were not board gamers, and nobody was having challenges on grokking how to play it. Everybody knew how to play it. Everybody had fun. It wasn't the deepest dive of a game for me, but it had enough strategy that I was like, okay, cool. I could play this, I could play this character a couple more times before I'm like, all right, I'm good. Like, it wasn't amazing, but it was enough that I would play it more than once as a character and then want to play the other characters. And of course, villainous being all the Disney villains and everything. And then the brilliance of having, but the net was so much wider because it's Disney. So they brought so many more people to the table to play it. And as a gamer, I had enough buy-in that I was like, yeah, no, I could teach this to a couple of different people, a couple different groups, and have more people want to learn it, and therefore as a gateway into, well, here's the next thing. So I think it's genius. Is it the best game ever? No. Is it it's a solid B game, but with an amazing IP, and they married the IP with the gameplay well, and they were very smart about how they did it. So I have had this debate many times. I think Villainous deserves the praise it's gotten because it's brought a lot more people to gaming. I've randomly been in Target multiple times now, where I've walked by. I always walk by the board games. It's what you do. And had somebody standing in front of it being like, is this any good to like another person? And listen to the conversation. And clearly they are not gamers of, or alpha gamers or whatever you want to call it. They're just, they're more of I was looking at Monopoly for my kids and this kind of drew me in kind of types, and both having a very positive conversation about it, where I didn't have to be like, excuse me, sir, let me explain how, like, nobody needed my help. They're already sold on the idea of buying it, and they were going to take it home, and having read the rules and played it, I knew that they could play it and not be frustrated and have a good experience, which meant they were having a good experience with the board game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that, and you brought it too. It's like, it's pretty wild. It's like, I know here in Charlotte there's a good a half dozen board game stores that within an hour drive or so. But yeah, I could go up to the nearest mall here and go into Barnes and Noble bookstore, and I could find they have like Fireball Island there. They have a lot of the this Steve Jackson stuff there, and when I see people looking at it, it's like it's that thing. It's like, oh, it's like I know this. It's like, okay, and then I have to pull the reins in on myself. It's like, okay, yeah, that
you don't want to scare them away.
Yeah.
Don't frighten off the new kids.
But when you see that, you get so excited, and it's like you want to jump out of your skin. It's like, oh, that's a good game. If you like that one, you like this one too.
I've had the bad habit of, more so in board game cafes, where I walk in and everybody's playing, like, everybody's got Monopoly or Candyland out, and I just go over to the shelf and start picking out, like, Ticket to Ride. Like, I just start picking other, like, and I'm like, and I walk over, I'm like, when you're done with this, you're going to want to try this. And I walk away. And I just hand them their next game. I'm like, okay. Nostalgia and your childhood and fun and everything. That's cool. Now you're going to want to do this one next. You'll love it. And I walk away and they're just like, who is that lady? And of course, the people who work at the cafe are just like, do I thank her? Do I tell her to stop harassing the other patrons?
So, do we put her on the payroll?
Right.
But yeah, it's just that excitement of when you see people playing, even if it's like an outer fringe game, or sort of like the old school classic or whatever. It's like, okay, well they're not averse to pushing cardboard and rolling dice, or pushing plastic around. So it's like, okay, so they at least have that exposure to the concept of, hey, let's get the family together and play a game. And you just, it's like, all right, but there's so much, and coming as a hobbyist, it's like, but you could be so much more. It's like, there's so much potential there.
And but it's a good litmus. For me, so my sister is we are the exact opposite in so many ways. Personality and temperament, no, but where like so. I know this is a recording, so I have, dark hair, brown eyes, but fair. Like my mother's Italian, my dad's Irish, so I have the pale skin from my dad, and then the darker features from my mom. My sister got the exact opposite. She has blonde hair, blue eyes, and then the dark olive skin from my mom. So we look like most people don't pick up that we're sisters. And then personality-wise, she was, captain of the soccer team. She was the homecoming queen. She, student council. And then I was debate club, D&D, theater. And we are the antithesis of each other. Oh, we love each other, but like our common interests are, I think, wine. It's wine. That's our common interest. So playing a board game with her is amazing because it really grounds me. We get so enwrapped in our industry's world, which is so small, and we forget that. We think it's all encompassing because we're steeped in it. But really, we are such a small microcosm of all of the world, the global society, who have so many other interests out there. Cooking shows, car interests, like just there's so many, like that they cast a much bigger, wider net than what we do. So to play with her is great because we're family. She'll tell me when she's bored, and it doesn't take long if she is. So she'll humor me because she loves me and because I've, indoctrinated her children, and they're my acolytes now. I own them, their souls. They're board gamers for life. So she has no choice but to play them sometimes. But certainly, when so many people poo-poo how easy something is or how dismissive that it's such a lightweight game and therefore it's not worthy, I laugh because those are the games my sister will play, and they have value because it means I can get her engaged in playing games, which means she's engaged in playing with her kids, who are more invested in playing games and will eventually play the harder stuff but if I gave her a hard time, she'd be anti-board games, and then nobody would be playing, and what's the point of that?
Right.
So as much as I personally prefer, playing, I love my miniatures combat games. I love my RPGs. I like midweight Euros because Robert can beat me at every heavy Euro there is. So if I want to lose, that's what we're playing. But I also see value in all of the family-friendly games, all the party games. And if you look at the numbers, those are the ones that are selling. Your family-friendly games, your collectible card games are what are the biggest movers because they have a broader general interest. So you can goof on them all you like, but I'm sure you wouldn't be as a publisher, you'd be killing to sell Monopoly. Oh, yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Goof on Monopoly. I heard, we played it recently. I shouldn't even say this, but it was at the last convention I attended before all of this happened. I was playing Monopoly. There we go. I've said it. It's out. I played a game of Monopoly. But I guess that's the point. Yeah. All right. It is base level foundation. We've come so far from that, but what's selling still? Monopoly. What do you see in not just board game stores, but like the Hallmark store, party stores? If you're going to see a board game, you're going to see Monopoly and Life and Sorry. And so, sure, I would love to see people move on from that. Being disparaging towards their tastes is not the way to go to get it to happen. So, sometimes we play them. Yeah. Or, that's the beauty of code names and villainous. Get them that next step up.
Yep.
Until I can get them to play folklore. Because eventually I want them to play folklore.
So, Julie, speaking of folklore and stuff like that, if people want to find out more about you and the things that you got your hands into, where where could they go?
Well, they could go to our website, greenbriergames.com. And of course, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all those social media things.
All right. Of course, I'll see links to those things in the show notes of this episode. Oh, Julie, thank you so much for our little fireside shoot the shit chat.
Thank you.
So,
Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much for smashing that download button. Appreciate it very much. If you want to go find out more about the Mega Meeple, just go to the website, www.themegameeple.com. Go to the social media page. You can follow me on all the social media shits there. You can go to the podcast page. You can listen to all the episodes going back 3 years, and there's a shit ton of them. In fact, there's 98 of them. We're approaching episode 100 here very quickly. So what are we going to do for that? I don't know. And also, go to the iTunes, subscribe to the Mega Meeple on iTunes, give me a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, and happy review and all that stuff. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, blah, blah, blah. Go to Patreon, fork over your $1 for a month. Blah, 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 blah. And all those links are found on the website, www.themegameeple.com. And in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, stay home. All right? Jesus. And I will see you next time.
I was actually ready not to talk about board games, and then we just went into it. Never left. Back in our second Kickstarter for Folklore, we were like, we're going to give you a stretch goal of like a story. And we did the first chapter and then started up on Follow the Spire, and it just kind of totally got forgotten. And like completely forgotten. Not even like I didn't, like I outlined everything, and then other stuff started happening, and it just never got back to it, never remembered it. And then now, because people are like, I'm looking for more content. Hey, whatever happened to that story? I was like, poop. So I've been working on it. So like we play tested it last night, and I'm revising. I'm trying to make it at least somewhat, even though it's a free giveaway. I'm not trying to make it like, here's your crap garbage game. Let me like so it's like little weird things like that I've been doing, that it's almost like this opportunity for massive housekeeping, but at the same time I'm like, I want to see people.
Yeah.